The flight attendant's eyes narrowed as she stared directly at Jordan, a black teenager settling into his first-class seat. "You're in the wrong place," she snapped, refusing to bring him a drink. The humiliation was sharp, but the shock came moments later when the cockpit door flung open, and Jordan's father, the airline's CEO, stepped out. In that instant, the entire plane held its breath. What happened next would expose deep prejudice and change everything. Jordan Thompson had always dreamed of flying first class. At 18, he had just graduated high school with honors, and his parents wanted to celebrate his achievements with a trip to California, where he would begin his college journey. The surprise first-class ticket was a symbol of their pride, a reward for his hard work. As he boarded the plane, he felt a rush of excitement mixed with a hint of nervousness. The cabin was luxurious, with plush seats and soft lighting. Jordan settled into his seat, taking a moment to appreciate the space around him. He watched as the flight attendants moved gracefully through the aisle, serving drinks and snacks to the other passengers. But when one attendant approached him, her demeanor shifted dramatically. "Can I get you something to drink?" she asked, her tone clipped and dismissive. "Sure, I'd love a soda, please," Jordan replied, smiling. The attendant's expression hardened. "I'm sorry, but I can't serve you right now. You need to wait until we finish serving the other passengers." Jordan's smile faltered. "But I'm in first class. Isn't that part of the service?" The attendant narrowed her eyes. "I said you need to wait," she repeated, turning on her heel and walking away. Confused and embarrassed, Jordan glanced around. Other passengers were being served without issue, and he felt the heat rise in his cheeks. Was it because he was black? The thought gnawed at him, but he pushed it aside, trying to focus on the excitement of his upcoming adventure. As the flight continued, Jordan's discomfort grew. The same attendant passed by several times, serving drinks and snacks to everyone around him but ignoring him completely. Finally, he decided to speak up. He pressed the call button above his head, and moments later, the attendant returned, her expression unreadable. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her tone still icy. "Yes, actually," Jordan said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I've been waiting for my drink for a while now. I thought first-class passengers were supposed to be served first." The attendant crossed her arms, her gaze hardening. "I don't think you're in the right seat," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "I'll need to check your ticket." Jordan's heart sank. "I have a first-class ticket," he insisted, pulling it out to show her. "See?" The attendant glanced at the ticket, then back at him, her expression unchanging. "I'll be the judge of that," she said, before walking away again. Just then, a commotion erupted from the cockpit. The door swung open, and a tall man in a pilot's uniform stepped out, his face a mask of concern. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, scanning the cabin. Jordan's heart raced. "I'm being ignored," he said, his voice rising. "I'm in first class and she won't serve me." The pilot's eyes widened as he recognized the voice. "Jordan?" he asked, stepping closer. "Jordan Thompson?" Jordan blinked in surprise. "Yes, that's me. Do you know me?" The pilot smiled warmly. "I'm your father, Marcus Thompson. I didn't know you were on this flight." The flight attendant's face paled as she realized who she was speaking to. "You're his father," she stammered, her demeanor shifting instantly. "Yes, and I'd like to know why my son is being treated this way," Marcus said, his voice firm but calm. The attendant stuttered. I didn't realize he was in first class. I thought he was in the wrong seat." Marcus's expression hardened. "He has a first-class ticket, and he deserves the same service as everyone else. This is unacceptable." The tension in the cabin was palpable as passengers turned to watch the unfolding drama. The flight attendant fumbled for words, clearly flustered. "I'm sorry. I'll get him his drink right away," she said, her voice shaky. "Not just a drink," Marcus replied, his tone unwavering. "He deserves an apology and the respect that every passenger should receive." The attendant nodded, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Of course, I'll—" "Save it. Save it," Marcus interrupted. "You need to understand that this behavior is not acceptable. This isn't just about a drink, it's about dignity and respect. My son is not just a passenger. He's a young man with dreams and aspirations, and he deserves to be treated as such." The cabin was silent. the weight of Marcus's words hanging in the air. Jordan felt a mix of pride and embarrassment wash over him. He had always admired his father's strength and integrity, but he never expected to be at the center of such a confrontation. The flight attendant's face turned crimson as she stammered an apology. "I'm truly sorry, sir. I didn't mean to offend. I'll make sure he's taken care of right away." Marcus shook his head, his expression resolute. "This isn't just about you making it right. It's about the systemic issues that allow this kind of behavior to happen in the first place. You need to understand that your actions have consequences, and they reflect on the entire airline." As the flight attendant hurried away, Marcus turned to Jordan, his eyes softening. "I'm so sorry you had to experience that, son. You deserve better." Jordan nodded, feeling a swell of gratitude for his father's support. "Thanks, Dad. I just wanted to enjoy the flight." Moments later, the flight attendant returned, this time with a tray of drinks and snacks. "Here you go, Jordan," she said, her voice more subdued. "I hope you'll accept my apology. I've brought you a selection of drinks and some of our finest snacks." Jordan took the tray, but he couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. "Thank you," he said, trying to keep his tone neutral. "But it's not just about the snacks. It's about how I was treated." The flight attendant nodded, her expression sincere. "I understand, and I truly apologize for my behavior. I'll do better." As she walked away, Marcus leaned closer. To Jordan. "This isn't just a one-time incident. It's a reminder of the challenges you'll face as a young black man in this world. But remember, you have the power to stand up for yourself and others." Jordan took a deep breath, feeling a mix of emotions. "I know, Dad. It's just frustrating. I thought things were getting better. They are. But change takes time," Marcus replied. "And it starts with people like you and me speaking out against injustice, no matter how small it may seem." The flight continued, and as the plane soared through the clouds, Jordan found himself reflecting on his father's words. He had always admired Marcus for his leadership in the airline industry, but now he saw him in a new light, not just as a CEO, but as a father who cared deeply about his son's experiences and the world around him. As they approached their destination, the pilot made an announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing shortly. I want to take a moment to thank you for flying with us today, and I'd like to extend a special thank you to our first-class passengers for their patience and understanding." Jordan's heart raced as he realized the pilot was addressing him directly. And a special shout-out to Jordan Thompson, who is not only a valued passenger, but also the son of our esteemed CEO. "We're proud to have you on board." The cabin erupted in applause, and Jordan felt a rush of warmth. He glanced at his father, who was smiling proudly. In that moment, he understood the importance of representation and the impact of standing up for what is right. As the plane touched down, Jordan and Marcus gathered their belongings and prepared to disembark. The flight attendant approached them one last time, her demeanor transformed. "Jordan, I truly hope you have a wonderful time at college. I'm sorry again for my earlier behavior, and I appreciate your understanding." "Thank you," Jordan replied, feeling a sense of closure. "I hope you take this experience to heart." As they stepped off the plane, Marcus placed a hand on Jordan's shoulder. "You did well today, son. Remember, it's not just about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. You have the power to make a difference." Jordan nodded, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. He was ready to face the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that he could stand up for himself and others. As they walked through the terminal, he felt a sense of hope for the future, a future where everyone would be treated with respect, regardless of the color of their skin. And as they exited the airport, Jordan knew that this experience would stay with him, shaping not only his college journey but also the man he would become. He was determined to be a voice for change, to ensure that no one else would have to endure the same humiliation he had faced. In the days that followed, Jordan couldn't shake the events of the flight from his mind. The incident had ignited a fire within him, a desire to advocate for change and to ensure that others wouldn't have to face the same prejudice he had experienced. As he settled into his new life at college, he found himself reflecting on the lessons his father had imparted. Jordan enrolled in a sociology class that focused on race relations and social justice. The discussions were intense, and he found himself drawn to the stories of others who had faced discrimination. Each lecture fueled his passion, and he began to understand the broader implications of his own experience on the plane. He realized that the flight attendant's behavior was not an isolated incident, but part of a larger systemic issue that needed to be addressed. One afternoon, as he sat in the campus cafe with a group of friends, Jordan shared his story. "You won't believe what happened to me on my flight here," he began, recounting the incident with the flight attendant and his father's intervention. His friends listened intently, their expressions shifting from shock to anger as he described the humiliation he had felt. "That's outrageous," one of his friends exclaimed. "You should do something about it." Jordan nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "I think we need to raise awareness about these issues. It's not just about me. It's about everyone who faces discrimination." Inspired by his friend's support, Jordan decided to take action. He organized a campus event called Voices of Change, inviting students to share their experiences with racism and discrimination. The event aimed to create a safe space for dialogue and to foster understanding among students from diverse backgrounds. As the date approached, Jordan worked tirelessly to promote the event. He created flyers, reached out to student organizations, and even secured a guest speaker, a local activist known for her work in racial justice. The response was overwhelming, and Jordan felt a sense of pride as he watched the community come together. On the day of the event, the auditorium was packed. Students filled the seats, eager to share their stories and listen to others. Jordan stood at the front, his heart racing with anticipation. He welcomed everyone and introduced the guest speaker, who captivated the audience with her powerful words. As the evening progressed, students took turns sharing their experiences. Some spoke of overt acts of racism, while others shared more subtle forms of discrimination that had left lasting scars. Jordan listened intently, feeling a deep connection to each story. He realized that while his experience on the plane had been painful, it was just one of many in a long history of racial injustice. When it was his turn to speak, Jordan took a deep breath. "I want to share my story," he began, recounting the incident with the flight attendant and his father's intervention. As he spoke, he could see the audience's reactions: shock, empathy, and anger. He felt a sense of solidarity in the room, a collective understanding that they were all part of a larger fight for justice. After he finished, the room erupted in applause. Jordan felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "Thank you for listening," he said, his voice trembling. "We need to keep having these conversations. Change starts with us." The event was a resounding success, and Jordan received messages of support from students who had been inspired by his courage. He realized that by sharing his story, he had not only empowered himself but also encouraged others to speak out against injustice. In the weeks that followed, Jordan continued to advocate for change on campus. He joined a student organization, focused on social justice, and worked with fellow students to create initiatives that promoted inclusivity and awareness. They organized workshops, discussions, and community outreach programs, all aimed at fostering understanding and empathy among students. One day, as Jordan was preparing for a meeting with the organization, he received a call from his father. "Hey Jordan, I heard about the event you organized. I'm so proud of you," Marcus said, his voice filled with warmth. "Thanks, Dad. It felt good to share my story and to see others do the same," Jordan replied, a smile spreading across his face. "I always knew you had it in you. Remember, change takes time, but every step counts. Keep pushing forward," Marcus encouraged. As they spoke, Jordan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that the journey toward equality and justice was ongoing, and he was committed to being a part of it. He knew that his experience on that flight had been a catalyst for something greater, and he was determined to use his voice to make a difference. As the semester progressed, Jordan's efforts began to bear fruit. The campus community became more engaged in discussions about race and discrimination, and students started to take action in their own lives. Jordan felt a sense of hope as he witnessed the change unfolding around him. The conversations that had once felt uncomfortable were now becoming a regular part of campus life. Students were more willing to confront their biases and learn from one another, and Jordan felt proud to be at the forefront of this movement. One day, as Jordan was walking across campus, he noticed a flyer for a national conference on racial justice being held in a nearby city. The event promised to bring together activists, scholars, and community leaders to discuss strategies for combating racism and promoting equity. Jordan's heart raced with excitement. This was an opportunity to connect with others who shared his passion and to learn from those who had been fighting this battle for years. Without hesitation, he decided to apply for a scholarship to attend the conference. He poured his heart into the application, detailing his experiences and the work he had done on campus. A few weeks later, he received the news he had been hoping for. He had been awarded the scholarship. As the date of the conference approached, Jordan felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He would be surrounded by people who had dedicated their lives to social justice, and he wanted to make the most of the opportunity. He spent hours preparing, researching the speakers, and formulating questions he wanted to ask. When the day finally arrived, Jordan boarded the bus with a group of fellow students. The atmosphere was electric, filled with anticipation and hope. As they arrived at the conference center, he was struck by the sheer number of people gathered: activists, educators, and students from all walks of life, united by a common goal. The opening session featured a keynote address by a renowned civil rights leader, whose words resonated deeply with Jordan. "Change is not a spectator sport," she declared. "It requires action, courage, and the willingness to stand up for what is right, even when it's uncomfortable." Jordan felt a surge of inspiration. He knew that he was part of something much larger than himself, and he was determined to contribute to the movement in any way he could. Throughout the conference, Jordan attended workshops and panel discussions, soaking in knowledge and insights from experienced activists. He took notes, asked questions, and engaged in discussions with others who shared his passion. He felt invigorated by the energy in the room, and he knew that he was on the right path. During one of the breakout sessions, Jordan met a young woman named Maya, who was also passionate about social justice. They quickly struck up a conversation, sharing their experiences and discussing their visions for the future. Maya was involved in a local organization that focused on youth empowerment and education, and she invited Jordan to collaborate on a project aimed at raising awareness about racial inequality in their communities. "Let's create something impactful together," Maya suggested, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "We can organize workshops for high school students, helping them understand their rights and empowering them to speak out against discrimination." Jordan felt a spark of excitement at the idea. "I'd love to. We can use our experiences to inspire others," he replied, eager to take action. As the conference came to a close, Jordan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had connected with like-minded individuals, gained valuable insights, and formed a partnership that would allow him to continue advocating for change. He returned to campus with a wealth of knowledge and a determination to make a difference. Back at school, Jordan and Maya wasted no time in planning their project. They organized a series of workshops at local high schools, focusing on topics such as understanding systemic racism, recognizing discrimination, and empowering students to advocate for themselves. They invited guest speakers, including local activists and educators, to share their experiences and insights. The workshops were met with enthusiasm, and students began to engage in meaningful discussions about race and identity. Jordan felt a sense of fulfillment as he watched young people find their voices and stand up for what they believed in. He knew that they were planting the seeds for change, and he was proud to be a part of it. As the months passed, Jordan's efforts began to gain recognition. The university administration took notice of the impact he and Maya were making in the community, and they invited them to present their work at a campus-wide event. Jordan felt a mix of excitement and nerves as he prepared to share their journey with a larger audience. On the day of the presentation, the auditorium was filled with students, faculty, and community members. Jordan stood at the front, his heart racing as he looked out at the crowd. He took a deep breath and began to speak, sharing their experiences, the challenges they had faced, and the importance of standing up against injustice. As he spoke, he could see the audience's reactions, nodding heads, engaged expressions, and even a few tears. He felt a sense of connection with everyone in the room, united by a shared commitment to creating a more equitable world. When he finished, the audience erupted in applause. Jordan felt a rush of emotion as he stepped back from the podium, overwhelmed by the support and encouragement from his peers. He glanced at Maya, who was beaming with pride. They had come a long way since that fateful flight, and now they were inspiring others to join the fight for justice. After the presentation, several students approached Jordan and Maya, eager to learn more about their workshops and how they could get involved. The energy in the room was palpable, and Jordan felt a renewed sense of hope. This was the change he had envisioned, a community coming together to address the issues that mattered. As the weeks went by, their workshops continued to grow in popularity. They expanded their reach, partnering with local organizations and schools to create a network of support for young people facing discrimination. Jordan and Maya organized events that included open discussions, art projects, and even a community march to raise awareness about racial inequality. One evening, as they were preparing for an upcoming event, Jordan received a call from his father. "Hey, Jordan, I just wanted to check in and see how everything is going," Marcus said, his voice warm and encouraging. "It's going really well, Dad. We've been organizing workshops and events, and more students are getting involved. It feels amazing to see people come together for a cause," Jordan replied, his excitement evident. "I'm so proud of you," Marcus said. "You're making a real difference. Remember, it's not just about raising awareness. It's about creating lasting change. Keep pushing forward." Jordan nodded, feeling the weight of his father's words. "I will, Dad. I want to make sure that the conversations we're having lead to real action." As the community march approached, Jordan and Maya worked tirelessly to ensure everything was in place. They reached out to local leaders, secured permits, and promoted the event through social media. The day of the march arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. People of all ages gathered, holding signs and chanting slogans that called for justice and equality. Jordan stood at the front of the crowd, feeling a mix of pride and determination. He looked out at the sea of faces, each person united by a common goal. As they began to march through the streets, he felt a sense of empowerment wash over him. This was what it meant to stand up for what was right. The march was a powerful display of solidarity, and as they reached the city square, Jordan took to the stage to address the crowd. "Thank you all for being here today. We are here to stand against racism and discrimination, to demand justice for all, and to empower our communities," he shouted, his voice ringing out over the crowd. The cheers and applause that followed filled him with energy. "We must continue to have these conversations, to educate ourselves and others, and to take action. Change starts with us, and together we can make a difference." As he spoke, he could see the passion in the eyes of those around him. They were ready to take action, to be the change they wanted to see in the world. The march concluded with a moment of silence for those who had suffered from racial injustice, a poignant reminder of the work that still lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, the momentum from the march continued to build. Local media covered their events, and Jordan and Maya were invited to speak at community forums and school assemblies. They shared their message of empowerment and resilience, encouraging others to join the fight for equality. One day, as they were preparing for another workshop, Jordan received an unexpected email. It was from a prominent civil rights organization, inviting him to speak at a national conference on youth activism. They had heard about his work and wanted him to share his story and insights with a larger audience. Jordan's heart raced with excitement. This was an incredible opportunity to reach even more people and inspire change on a national level. He immediately called Maya to share the news. "You won't believe this. We've been invited to speak at a national conference," he exclaimed. "Are you serious? That's amazing," Maya replied, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "We have to make the most of this opportunity." As they prepared for the conference, Jordan reflected on how far he had come since that day on the plane. He had transformed a painful experience into a powerful catalyst for change, and he was determined to continue advocating for justice. When the day of the conference arrived, Jordan stood backstage, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. He watched as other speakers shared their stories, each one more inspiring than the last. Finally, it was his turn to take the stage. As he stepped into the spotlight, he took a deep breath and looked out at the audience. "Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Thompson, and I want to share my journey with you," he began, recounting the incident on the flight and how it had ignited a passion for social justice within him. He spoke about the workshops he and Maya had organized, the community march they had led, and the importance of empowering young people to stand up against discrimination. As he shared his story, Jordan could see the audience leaning in, captivated by his words. He felt a surge of confidence as he spoke about the impact of their work and the connections they had forged within the community. "Change doesn't happen overnight," he said, his voice steady. "But every conversation we have, every workshop we lead, and every march we organize brings us one step closer to a more just and equitable world." The audience erupted in applause, and Jordan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had come to understand that his voice mattered, that his experiences could inspire others to take action. As he concluded his speech, he encouraged everyone in the room to find their own way to contribute to the fight for justice. "We all have a role to play," he said. "Let's work together to create a future where everyone is treated with dignity and respect." After his speech, Jordan was approached by several attendees who expressed their admiration for his work. They shared their own stories and asked how they could get involved in similar initiatives. Jordan felt a sense of fulfillment as he connected with others who were passionate about making a difference. As the conference came to a close, Jordan and Maya were invited to participate in a panel discussion alongside other youth activists. They shared their insights on the challenges they faced and the strategies they had employed to engage their communities. The discussion was lively, filled with questions and ideas, and Jordan felt invigorated by the exchange of thoughts. When the panel ended, a young woman approached Jordan. "I'm so inspired by what you're doing," she said, her eyes shining. "I want to start something similar at my school. Do you have any advice?" Jordan smiled, feeling a sense of responsibility to help others. "Absolutely. Start by gathering a group of friends who share your passion. Host discussions, invite speakers, and create a safe space for people to share their experiences. It's all about building community and empowering each other." As the conference wrapped up, Jordan and Maya exchanged excited glances. They had not only shared their story, but had also inspired others to take action. They left the event feeling energized and ready to continue their work back home. Upon returning to campus, they decided to expand their initiatives even further. They launched a mentorship program that paired college students with high school students, providing guidance and support as they navigated their own journeys. The program aimed to empower young people to become advocates for change in their own communities. As the mentorship program gained traction, Jordan found himself reflecting on the impact of his father's support throughout this journey. Marcus had always encouraged him to stand up for what was right, and now Jordan was doing just that. He decided to invite his father to speak at one of their upcoming events, hoping to share the stage with the man who had inspired him to take action. When the day of the event arrived, the auditorium was filled with students eager to hear from both Jordan and Marcus. As they took the stage together, Jordan felt a sense of pride. "I want to introduce someone who has been my biggest supporter and role model," he said, gesturing to his father. "Please welcome my dad, Marcus Thompson." Marcus stepped forward, his presence commanding the room. "Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to be here today with my son," he began, his voice warm and genuine. "I've watched Jordan grow into a passionate advocate for change, and I couldn't be prouder of the work he's doing." As Marcus spoke about the importance of standing up against injustice, Jordan felt a swell of emotion. He realized that their journey was not just about him. It was about the legacy of advocacy and empowerment that his father had instilled in him. After Marcus finished speaking, Jordan took the microphone again. "Thank you, Dad. Your support has meant everything to me. I want to remind everyone here that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem." The audience erupted in applause, and Jordan felt a sense of unity in the room. They were all part of a movement, and together they could create change. As the event concluded, students approached both Jordan and Marcus, eager to share their thoughts and express their gratitude. Jordan felt a sense of fulfillment as he listened to their stories and encouraged them to continue advocating for justice. In the months that followed, Jordan and Maya's initiatives continued to grow. They organized community service projects, educational workshops, and discussions that addressed various social issues. Their work began to attract attention from local media, and they were featured in articles highlighting their impact on the community. One day, as Jordan was preparing for another workshop, he received an unexpected email from a prominent national news outlet. They wanted to feature him and Maya in a segment about young activists making a difference in their communities. Jordan's heart raced with excitement and disbelief. This was an incredible opportunity to amplify their message and reach an even wider audience. He immediately called Maya to share the news. "You won't believe this. We've been invited to be featured in a news segment about youth activism," he exclaimed. "Are you serious? That's amazing," Maya replied, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "This could really help us spread our message." As they prepared for the interview, Jordan felt a mix of nerves and excitement. They spent hours discussing what they wanted to convey, practicing their responses and brainstorming ways to articulate their vision for change. They wanted to ensure that their message was clear and impactful. On the day of the interview, they arrived at the studio, where they were greeted by the production team. The atmosphere was buzzing with energy, and Jordan felt a sense of purpose as they prepared to share their story. The host of the segment was known for her commitment to social justice, and Jordan felt honored to be in her presence. As the cameras rolled, Jordan and Maya sat across from the host, who began by asking them about their experiences in the work they had been doing. Jordan spoke passionately about the workshops, the mentorship program, and the community march. He emphasized the importance of empowering young people to advocate for themselves and others. Maya chimed in, sharing her perspective on the impact of their initiatives. "It's about creating a safe space for dialogue and understanding," she said. "We want to inspire others to take action and to know that their voices matter." The host nodded, clearly engaged with their message. "What do you hope to achieve through your work?" she asked. Jordan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the question. "We want to create a culture of awareness and empathy," he replied. "We believe that by sharing our stories and experiences, we can help others understand the importance of standing up against discrimination and injustice." As the interview continued, Jordan felt a sense of empowerment. They were not just sharing their story. They were advocating for a movement that could inspire change on a larger scale. The segment concluded with the host encouraging viewers to get involved in their own communities and to support youth activism. After the interview, Jordan and Maya were filled with excitement. They had successfully conveyed their message, and they knew that their story would resonate with many. As they left the studio, they received messages of support from friends and family, all eager to see the segment air. When the segment was broadcast a few days later, Jordan watched with anticipation. As he saw himself and Maya on screen, sharing their experiences and advocating for change, he felt a sense of pride. The response was overwhelming. Social media lit up with comments from viewers expressing their support and sharing their own stories of activism. In the following weeks, their initiatives gained even more traction. Schools and community organizations reached out to collaborate, and they were invited to speak at various events across the region. Jordan felt a sense of responsibility to continue advocating for justice, knowing that their work was making a difference. One evening, as he was reflecting on their journey, Jordan received a call from his father. "Hey, Jordan, I just watched the segment. I'm so proud of you and Maya," Marcus said, his voice filled with warmth. "Thanks, Dad. It feels amazing to see our message reaching so many people," Jordan replied, a smile spreading across his face. "I always knew you had the potential to inspire others. Remember, this is just the beginning. Keep pushing forward and don't be afraid to dream big," Marcus encouraged. As the months passed, Jordan and Maya continued to expand their reach. They launched an online platform where young activists could share their stories, connect with one another, and access resources for advocacy. The platform quickly gained popularity, becoming a hub for youth activism and empowerment. One day, as they were brainstorming ideas for the platform, Maya suggested, "What if we host a virtual summit? We could invite speakers from different backgrounds to share their experiences and insights on social justice." Jordan's eyes lit up at the idea. "That's brilliant. We could create a space for dialogue and collaboration on a larger scale." They began planning the summit, reaching out to potential speakers and promoting the event through social media. As the date approached, excitement built within the community. They had secured a diverse lineup of speakers, including activists, educators, and artists, all committed to advocating for change. On the day of the summit, Jordan and Maya were filled with anticipation. They welcomed participants from across the country, creating a virtual space for connection and dialogue. The crisp autumn air swept across the university campus as Jordan Thompson walked toward the student union, his mind buzzing with ideas for the youth advocacy network he and Maya had built. The flyer on the bulletin board, announcing their upcoming workshop on intersectionality and allyship, was just one of many signs that their movement was gaining momentum. Students were talking, engaging, and taking action, and Jordan felt a profound sense of purpose. The incident on the flight that had sparked this journey was now a distant memory, but its impact continued to shape his path. As he entered the student union, he spotted Maya at a table in the corner, surrounded by a group of students who were eagerly discussing the workshop. Her laughter rang out, and Jordan couldn't help but smile. Maya's energy was infectious, and their partnership had become the backbone of their advocacy work. She waved him over, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Jordan, you won't believe this," she said, holding up her phone. "We just got an email from a foundation that wants to fund our scholarship program. They're offering enough to send 10 students to that leadership training in DC next summer." Jordan's jaw dropped. "Are you serious? That's huge." He pulled up a chair, joining the group. This could change everything for those students. Imagine the impact they'll have when they come back with new skills and connections. The students around the table nodded enthusiastically, sharing ideas for how to select the scholarship recipients and ensure the program reached those who needed it most. As they brainstormed, Jordan felt a surge of gratitude for the community they had built. It wasn't just about him and Maya anymore. It was about the collective power of young people coming together to create change. Over the next few weeks, Jordan and Maya dove into planning the scholarship selection process. They created an application that emphasized personal stories and commitment to social justice, ensuring that the program would uplift voices from marginalized communities. They also reached out to high schools in underserved areas, encouraging students who might not otherwise have access to such opportunities to apply. As applications poured in, Jordan found himself inspired by the stories he read. There was Aisha, a high school junior who had organized a community cleanup to combat environmental racism in her neighborhood. There was Miguel, a senior who had started a peer mentoring group for LGBTQ+ youth after facing discrimination at his school. Each application was a testament to the resilience and creativity of young people, and Jordan felt a deep responsibility to support their dreams. One evening, as he and Maya reviewed applications in their shared office space on campus, Jordan paused to reflect. "You know, when I was on that plane, I felt so powerless," he said, leaning back in his chair. "I never imagined it would lead to this. Reading these stories, helping kids like Aisha and Miguel. It's like that one moment flipped my whole world." Maya nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's wild how pain can turn into purpose. That flight attendant's actions hurt you, but they also lit a fire. And now look at us, building something that's bigger than either of us." Jordan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "And it's not just about us. It's about all these kids who are going to carry this forward." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. It was Professor Elena Carter, their sociology professor, and a mentor who had supported their work from the beginning. She stepped inside, her face lit with excitement. "I have news," she said, holding up a folder. "The university is launching a new center for social justice studies, and they want you two to be part of the advisory board." Jordan and Maya exchanged stunned glances. "Us? On an advisory board?" Jordan asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Absolutely," Professor Carter replied. "Your work has caught the attention of the administration. They see the impact you're having, not just on campus but in the broader community. This center will focus on research, education, and activism around issues of equity and justice, and they want student voices like yours shaping its direction." Maya leaned forward, her eyes wide. "What would we be doing on the board?" "You'd help design programs, recommend speakers, and ensure the center reflects the needs and perspectives of students," Professor Carter explained. "It's a chance to influence policy and programming at a high level. Plus, it comes with a stipend and access to resources for your advocacy work." Jordan's mind raced. This was an opportunity to institutionalize their efforts, to ensure that the conversations they had started would continue long after they graduated. "We're in," he said, glancing at Maya, who nodded in agreement. "Excellent," Professor Carter said, handing them the folder. "There's a meeting next week to kick things off. I'll send you the details. Keep up the incredible work." As Professor Carter left, Jordan and Maya dove into the folder, which contained plans for the center, including a proposed curriculum, community outreach initiatives, and a speaker series. They spent the rest of the evening brainstorming ways to integrate their youth advocacy network into the center's programs, envisioning workshops, internships, and research projects that could amplify their impact. The following week, Jordan and Maya attended the inaugural meeting of the Social Justice Center's advisory board. The room was filled with faculty, community leaders, and a few other student representatives, all gathered to shape the center's vision. Jordan felt a mix of nerves and excitement as he took his seat, but as the discussion began, he found his voice. He spoke passionately about the importance of centering youth perspectives and ensuring that the center addressed systemic issues like racial discrimination and economic inequality. Maya complimented his points, emphasizing the need for community-based programs that empowered local residents. Their ideas were met with enthusiasm, and by the end of the meeting, they had been tasked with leading a subcommittee to develop youth-focused initiatives. It was a daunting responsibility, but Jordan felt ready to take it on. As their work with the center ramped up, Jordan and Maya continued to manage their youth advocacy network and scholarship program. They selected the first cohort of scholarship recipients, organizing a virtual ceremony to celebrate their achievements. Watching Aisha, Miguel, and the other recipients share their stories and aspirations, Jordan felt a profound sense of fulfillment. These young people were the future, and he was proud to play a role in their journeys. Meanwhile, the documentary project they had started was gaining traction. They had partnered with a local filmmaker, Sarah, who was passionate about amplifying marginalized voices. Together, they interviewed young activists across the country, capturing stories of resilience and resistance. Jordan and Maya traveled to nearby cities to film, meeting incredible individuals who were organizing against police brutality, advocating for immigrant rights, and fighting for environmental justice. One particularly memorable interview was with a teenager named Kai, who had created a mobile app to connect homeless youth with resources in their area. Kai's story was one of survival and innovation. They had faced homelessness themselves and turned their experience into a tool for change. As Jordan listened to Kai's story, he felt a deep connection. "You're doing something incredible," he told them. "Your app could save lives." Kai smiled, their eyes bright with determination. "Thanks, Jordan. Hearing about your work inspired me to keep going. We're all part of the same fight." The documentary shoot was intense, with long days of filming and editing, but it was also deeply rewarding. Jordan and Maya worked closely with Sarah to ensure the film captured the diversity and complexity of youth activism. They wanted it to be more than a feel-good story. They wanted it to challenge viewers to confront systemic injustices and take action. As the documentary neared completion, Jordan received an invitation to premiere it at a regional film festival. The news was thrilling, but it also came with pressure. The festival would attract filmmakers, activists, and community leaders, and Jordan wanted the film to make a lasting impact. He and Maya spent weeks preparing, creating promotional materials, and planning a panel discussion to follow the screening. The night of the premiere was electric. The theater was packed, and Jordan felt a mix of nerves and excitement as he took the stage to introduce the film. "This documentary is about the power of young people," he said, his voice steady. "It's about their courage, their creativity, and their refusal to accept the status quo. We hope it inspires you to join us in the fight for justice." As the lights dimmed and the film began, Jordan sat in the audience, watching the stories unfold on the screen. From Kai's app to a young poet using her words to combat racism, each segment was a testament to the resilience of youth. The audience was visibly moved, with gasps, laughter, and tears filling the theater. When the film ended, the room erupted in applause. Jordan and Maya joined Sarah and several of the featured activists on stage for the panel discussion. The conversation was lively, with audience members asking how they could support youth activism and share the film in their communities. Jordan felt a sense of pride as he answered questions, knowing that their work was resonating with so many. After the premiere, the documentary gained significant attention. It was picked up for distribution by a streaming platform, ensuring that it would reach a global audience. Jordan and Maya were thrilled, but they also knew that the film was just one part of their mission. They continued to focus on their advocacy network, the Social Justice Center, and their mentorship program, balancing their academic responsibilities with their growing roles as activists. One day, as Jordan was walking to class, he received a call from his father. "Hey Jordan, I've got some news," Marcus said, his voice filled with excitement. "The airline is launching a new diversity and inclusion initiative, and they've asked me to lead it. I want you to be part of it." Jordan stopped in his tracks, stunned. "Me? Part of an airline initiative?" "Absolutely," Marcus replied. "Your experience on that flight exposed a real problem, and we're committed to addressing it. We're developing training programs, revising policies, and creating a passenger feedback system to ensure everyone is treated with respect. I'd love for you to consult on the youth perspective and maybe even speak at our launch event." Jordan felt a mix of emotions: pride, excitement, and a touch of apprehension. The flight had been a painful moment, but now it was leading to systemic change within the airline. "I'm in, Dad," he said. "Let's make sure this initiative makes a real difference." As Jordan prepared for his role with the airline, he continued to juggle his other commitments. The Social Justice Center was thriving, with new programs launching, including a research project on the impact of youth activism. The Youth Advocacy Network was expanding, with chapters forming at other universities and high schools, and the mentorship program was growing, with more college students volunteering to support high schoolers. One evening, as Jordan and Maya were planning their next workshop, they received an unexpected visitor. It was Aisha, one of the scholarship recipients, who had traveled to campus to surprise them. "I wanted to thank you in person," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "The leadership training I attended because of your scholarship changed my life. I'm starting a community garden in my neighborhood to address food insecurity, and I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it without your support." Jordan felt a lump in his throat. "Aisha, that's incredible. You're the reason we do this." As they talked, Aisha shared her plans for the garden and her hopes for expanding it to other communities. Jordan and Maya offered to connect her with resources and mentors, eager to support her vision. The moment was a reminder of why their work mattered. It was about empowering others to create change in their own way. As the months passed, Jordan's life became a whirlwind of activity. He spoke at the airline's diversity initiative launch, sharing his story and emphasizing the importance of accountability and inclusion. The event was attended by airline employees, media, and community leaders, and Jordan's speech was met with a standing ovation. The initiative rolled out new training programs and policies, and Marcus ensured that Jordan's feedback was incorporated at every step. Meanwhile, the documentary continued to gain traction, inspiring screenings at schools and community centers across the country. Jordan and Maya traveled to several, received an invitation to present their work at an international youth summit in Geneva, Switzerland. The summit was a gathering of young leaders from around the world, and Jordan saw it as a chance to share their model of youth empowerment and build global connections. As they prepared for the trip, Jordan reflected on how far he had come. The incident on the flight had been a turning point, but it was his response, his choice to transform pain into purpose, that had defined his journey. He thought about his father's words. "It's not just about what happens to you, it's about how you respond." Those words had guided him, and now he was ready to take his message to a global stage. In Geneva, Jordan and Maya were welcomed by a diverse group of activists, each with their own stories of resilience and resistance. They presented their work, sharing the successes of their advocacy network, mentorship program, and documentary. The audience was inspired, and Jordan felt a sense of unity as he listened to stories from young people in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, all fighting for justice in their own contexts. During a breakout session, Jordan met a young woman named Amara, who was leading a movement for girls' education in her community in Nigeria. Her passion and determination reminded him of Aisha, and they quickly bonded over their shared commitment to empowering youth. Amara invited Jordan and Maya to visit her community and collaborate on a project to support young women's leadership. The invitation sparked an idea. What if their youth advocacy network could go global? They could create an international exchange program, connecting young activists from different countries to share strategies and build solidarity. Jordan and Maya spent the rest of the summit brainstorming with Amara and other participants, laying the groundwork for a global network. When they returned to the U.S., they began working on the exchange program, reaching out to international organizations and securing funding. They also continued their local work, organizing a second community march that drew thousands of participants. The march was a celebration of progress and a call to action, with speeches, performances, and a voter registration drive to empower young people ahead of the upcoming election. As Jordan stood on the stage, addressing the crowd, he felt a sense of clarity. This was his purpose: to amplify voices, build community, and create change. He looked out at the sea of faces, young and old, united in their commitment to justice, and he knew that this was only the beginning. Back at the university, Jordan and Maya were approached by a publisher who had seen their documentary and wanted them to write a book about their journey. The idea was daunting, but they saw it as a chance to reach an even wider audience. They began outlining the book, weaving together their personal stories, the lessons they had learned, and the voices of the young activists they had met along the way. As they wrote, Jordan reflected on the people who had shaped him: his father, who had shown him the power of leadership; Maya, who had been his partner in every step; and the countless young people who had inspired him with their courage. He thought about the flight attendant's apology and the change it represented, however small. And he thought about the future, a future where every young person could board a plane, walk into a room, or stand on a stage and know that they belonged. The book took shape over the next year, becoming a blend of memoir, manifesto, and call to action. When it was published, it received widespread acclaim, with reviews praising its authenticity and urgency. Jordan and Maya embarked on a book tour, speaking at schools, libraries, and community centers. Each event was a chance to connect with readers, hear their stories, and inspire them to take action. One evening, after a particularly moving event at a high school, Jordan received a message from Kai, the teenager who had created the app for homeless youth. Kai had just been accepted into a prestigious tech program and wanted to thank Jordan for his support. "Your belief in me changed everything," Kai wrote. "I'm going to keep pushing forward just like you." Jordan felt tears prick his eyes as he read the message. This was the heart of his work: lifting others up, helping them see their own potential, and building a world where everyone could thrive. As the book tour continued, Jordan and Maya were invited to the White House for a youth leadership summit hosted by the First Lady. The event was a celebration of young changemakers, and Jordan felt honored to be included. He and Maya shared their story, emphasizing the power of community and the importance of listening to marginalized voices. The First Lady praised their work, promising to support their global exchange program and amplify their message. After the summit, Jordan and Maya returned to their campus, where they were greeted as heroes. The Social Justice Center had grown into a hub of innovation, with new programs launching and students flocking to get involved. The Youth Advocacy Network was thriving, with chapters in dozens of cities and plans for an international launch. And the mentorship program was transforming lives, with hundreds of high school students finding their voices and pursuing their dreams. One sunny afternoon, Jordan stood on the quad, watching a group of students prepare for a voter registration drive. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, the pain of that flight, the pride of his father's support, and the power of his own resilience. He thought about Maya, Aisha, Amara, and all the others who had become his family in this fight for justice. And as he looked out at the students, their faces filled with hope and determination, Jordan knew that this was his legacy. He had turned a moment of humiliation into a movement, a spark into a flame that would burn brightly for generations to come. The sun was setting over the university campus, casting a golden glow across the quad where students were wrapping up their voter registration drive. Jordan Thompson stood among them, clipboard in hand, chatting with a group of high schoolers who had joined the effort. Their enthusiasm was contagious, and Jordan felt a surge of pride. The Youth Advocacy Network he and Maya had built was no longer just a campus initiative. It was a movement, spreading to communities far beyond their college town. As the students packed up their signs and flyers, Maya approached, her face lit with excitement. "Jordan, you're not going to believe this," she said, holding up her phone. "The International Youth Summit organizers just emailed us. They want to partner with our global exchange program to create a permanent platform for young activists. They're talking about funding, staff, and even a headquarters in Geneva." Jordan's eyes widened. "A permanent platform? That's massive." He took a moment to process the news. Their exchange program, which had started as a spark of inspiration in Geneva, was already connecting young activists from Nigeria to New York. Now, it could become a global institution. What do they need from us? They want us to present a detailed proposal at their annual meeting in 3 months, Maya replied, scrolling through the email. It's a huge opportunity, but it's also a lot of work. We'd need to outline our vision, budget, and long-term goals. Plus, they're asking us to bring a team of young activists to represent different regions. Jordan nodded, his mind already racing with ideas. We can do this. Let's get Amara, Kai, Aisha, and some of the other scholarship recipients involved. They can speak to the impact of our work from their perspectives. It'll show how diverse and inclusive our network is. Maya grinned. I love it. Let's set up a meeting with everyone this weekend. We've got to hit the ground running. As they walked back to their office, Jordan felt a mix of excitement and pressure. The opportunity was incredible, but the scale of it was daunting. A global platform would mean more responsibility, more scrutiny, and the challenge of balancing their local work with international ambitions. Still, he knew they were ready. The journey that had begun with a humiliating moment on a plane had prepared him for this. Over the next few weeks, Jordan and Maya assembled a team to work on the proposal. They held virtual meetings with activists from across the globe, including Amara in Nigeria, who was eager to represent African youth, and Kai, who brought a tech-savvy perspective to the table. Aisha, now a rising star in her community, offered insights on grassroots organizing, while Miguel contributed ideas for supporting LGBTQ+ youth. The team was a vibrant mix of voices, each bringing unique experiences and expertise. As they drafted the proposal, Jordan found himself reflecting on the values that had guided their work from the beginning: empowerment, inclusion, and accountability. He wanted the global platform to embody those principles, creating a space where young people could not only share their stories, but also access resources, training, and mentorship to turn their ideas into reality. One evening, as Jordan was reviewing a draft of the proposal, he received a call from his father, Marcus. Hey, son, I heard about the Geneva opportunity. That's incredible, Marcus said, his voice filled with pride. How's it going? It's intense, Dad, Jordan admitted, leaning back in his chair. We're trying to build something that can support young activists everywhere, but it's a lot to figure out. I keep thinking about how you turned that flight incident into a diversity initiative at the airline. How do you stay focused when the stakes are so high? Marcus chuckled. It's not always easy. You have to keep your eye on the why you're doing this. For me, it was about making sure no one else felt the way you did on that plane. For you, it's about empowering young people. Let that guide you. And don't be afraid to lean on your team. You're not in this alone, Jordan smiled, feeling a wave of reassurance. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot. Anytime, Marcus said. And by the way, the airline's initiative is going strong. We've rolled out new training across all our hubs, and we're seeing real changes in how employees interact with passengers. I'd love for you to come speak at our next conference. Your story still resonates. Jordan agreed, adding the conference to his already packed schedule. Balancing his commitments was becoming a challenge, but he was determined to make it work. He and Maya spent long hours refining the proposal, incorporating feedback from their team, and researching successful models of global youth organizations. They also reached out to Professor Carter, who connected them with experts in nonprofit management to ensure their plan was sustainable. As the deadline for the proposal approached, Jordan and Maya faced their first major hurdle. One of their key team members, a young activist from Brazil named Sophia, had to step back due to a family emergency. Sophia had been leading the section on Latin American youth engagement, and her absence left a gap in the proposal. Jordan felt a pang of worry. Sophia's perspective was critical to ensuring the platform was truly inclusive. We can't lose her voice, Jordan said during a late-night meeting. What if we find a way to keep her involved remotely? Maybe she can record a video or write a statement we can include. Maya nodded. Good idea. Let's also reach out to other Latin American activists in our network. We can't let one setback derail us. They quickly mobilized, connecting with a young organizer from Mexico named Diego, who stepped in to help. Diego brought a fresh, Perspective, emphasizing the importance of addressing Indigenous youth issues in the platform's framework. With his input, the proposal became even stronger, and Sophia was able to contribute a written statement that captured her vision for the future. When the proposal was finally submitted, Jordan and Maya felt a mix of relief and anticipation. They had poured their hearts into it, creating a vision for a global platform that would provide training, funding, and networking opportunities for young activists. Now they had to wait for the summit organizers' response. While awaiting the decision, Jordan turned his attention to the airline conference his father had mentioned. The event was held in Atlanta, bringing together employees, industry leaders, and community advocates to discuss the future of inclusive travel. Jordan was invited to deliver a keynote speech, sharing his story and the lessons he had learned as an activist. As he stood on the stage, looking out at the diverse audience, Jordan felt a sense of closure. The airline, once the site of his humiliation, was now a platform for change. 3 years ago, I was a teenager on one of your flights, treated like I didn't belong, he began, his voice steady. That moment could have broken me, but instead, it inspired me to fight for a world where everyone is seen and valued. Today, I'm here to tell you that change is possible, not just in this industry, but in every corner of our society. Spoke about the Youth Advocacy Network, the documentary, and the global platform, emphasizing the power of collective action. It's not enough to apologize for mistakes, he said. We have to build systems that prevent them from happening in the first place. That starts with listening to the voices that are often ignored. The audience gave him a standing ovation, and Jordan felt a rush of gratitude. After the speech, he was approached by several airline employees who shared their own stories of working to make the industry more inclusive. One flight attendant, a young woman named Lena, pulled him aside. I was on a different flight that day, but I heard about what happened to you, she said. It made me rethink how I interact with passengers. Thank you for speaking out. Jordan nodded, touched by her words. Thank you for listening. That's where it starts. Back at the university, Jordan and Maya received word that their proposal had been shortlisted for the Geneva Summit. They were invited to present it in person, along with a team of young activists. The news was thrilling, but it came with a new challenge: funding the trip. While the summit organizers covered some costs, Jordan and Maya needed to raise money to bring their full team, including Aisha, Kai, Amara, Diego, and Miguel. They launched a crowdfunding campaign, sharing their story and the vision for the global platform. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from students, community members, and even viewers of their documentary who had been inspired by their work. Marcus contributed a generous donation from the airline's diversity fund, and Professor Carter secured a grant from the university to cover the remaining costs. As they prepared for the trip, Jordan and Maya worked with their team to rehearse their presentation. They wanted it to be dynamic and engaging, blending personal stories with data on the impact of youth activism. Amara suggested incorporating a live video feed from activists who couldn't attend, allowing them to share their perspectives in real time. Kai offered to create an interactive app for summit attendees to engage with the platform's features, showcasing their tech-driven approach. The weeks leading up to the summit were a whirlwind of preparation. Jordan and Maya balanced their coursework, advocacy work, and book tour commitments while ensuring every detail of the presentation was perfect. They also faced personal challenges. Jordan's mother, who had been a quiet but steadfast supporter, was diagnosed with a minor health issue, requiring Jordan to spend more time at home. Maya, meanwhile, was navigating family expectations about her career path, as her parents hoped she would pursue a more traditional job after graduation. Despite these challenges, they leaned on each other for support. Late-night study sessions turned into strategy meetings, and moments of doubt were met with encouragement. "We're in this together," Maya would say, her voice firm. "No matter what, we keep going." When the day of the summit arrived, Jordan and his team landed in Geneva, greeted by a crisp spring breeze and the buzz of anticipation. The summit was held in a sleek conference center overlooking Lake Geneva, with delegates from over 50 countries in attendance. Jordan felt a mix of nerves and excitement as they set up their presentation space, complete with posters, a demo of Kai's app, and a looping video of their documentary. Their presentation was scheduled for the second day, giving them time to attend other sessions and network with activists. Jordan was particularly moved by a panel on climate justice, where a young woman from the Pacific Islands shared her community's fight against rising sea levels. Her story reminded him of the interconnectedness of their struggles, whether it was racial justice, environmental justice, or gender equality. The fight was for a better world for all. When the moment arrived for their presentation, Jordan stood at the front of the auditorium, flanked by Maya, Kai, Aisha, Diego, and Miguel. The room was packed with delegates, media, and even representatives from the United Nations in attendance. Jordan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you for being here," he began, his voice clear and confident. 3 years ago, I was a teenager who faced discrimination on a flight. That experience could have silenced me, but instead, it gave me a voice. Today, I'm here with an incredible team to share our vision for a global platform that empowers young people to create change. The presentation was a triumph. Maya outlined the platform's structure, emphasizing its focus on accessibility and inclusion. Amara spoke passionately about the need for African youth representation, while Kai demonstrated the app's features, earning gasps of admiration from the audience. Aisha and Miguel shared their personal stories, connecting their experiences to the platform's mission, and Diego highlighted the importance of indigenous voices. The live video feed brought in perspectives from activists in Asia and the Middle East, showcasing the platform's global reach. As they concluded, Jordan stepped forward. "This isn't just about us," he said. "It's about every young person who has ever felt unseen or unheard. Together, we can build a world where their voices lead the way." The audience erupted in applause, and the team was mobbed with questions and congratulations afterward. Summit organizers pulled Jordan and Maya aside, expressing their enthusiasm for the proposal. "This is exactly what we've been looking for," one organizer said. "We want to move forward with funding and implementation. Let's set up a meeting to discuss next steps." Jordan felt a rush of exhilaration. They had done it. They had secured a path to make their global platform a reality. That evening, the team celebrated over dinner at a lakeside restaurant, toasting to their success and dreaming about the future. Amara proposed a name for the platform, Rise Global, symbolizing the rise of young voices worldwide. The name stuck, and Jordan felt it captured the essence of their mission. Back in the U.S., Jordan and Maya hit the ground running. They worked with the summit organizers to establish Rise Global, setting up an interim office on their campus, while plans for a Geneva headquarters took shape. They hired a small staff, including some of their scholarship recipients, and began rolling out pilot programs in 5 countries. The platform offered online training, microgrants for youth-led projects, and a mentorship network connecting young activists with experienced leaders. As Rise Global grew, Jordan faced new challenges. Managing an international organization required skills he was still developing: budgeting, fundraising, and navigating cultural differences. There were moments of frustration, like when a pilot program in South Asia faced delays due to bureaucratic hurdles. But there were also moments of triumph, like when a group of Rise Global participants in Kenya launched a campaign to combat gender-based violence, gaining national attention. On a personal level, Jordan was navigating his final year of college. He was majoring in sociology with a minor in public policy, and his coursework often informed his activism. He wrote his senior thesis on the impact of youth-led movements, using Rise Global as a case study. The research process deepened his understanding of systemic change, and he began to see himself not just as an activist, but as a leader in the field of social justice. Maya, too, was finding her path. She had decided to pursue a graduate degree in nonprofit management, wanting to equip herself with the skills to sustain their work long-term. Their friendship remained a cornerstone, even as their responsibilities grew. They made a pact to always make time for each other, whether it was grabbing coffee or venting about the stresses of leadership. One day, as Jordan was preparing for a Rise Global board meeting, he received an unexpected package. It was a framed photo from the airline conference showing him and his father on stage together. A note from Marcus was tucked inside. "You're changing the world, son. I'm so proud to be your dad." Jordan felt a lump in his throat. He called Marcus immediately, thanking him for the gift. "Dad, none of this would have happened without you. That moment on the plane, you stepping out of the cockpit, it changed everything." Marcus's voice was warm. "You took that moment and made it your own, Jordan. I just gave you a push. The world is lucky to have you." As the year progressed, Rise Global's impact became undeniable. The platform supported over 1,000 youth-led projects, from community gardens to digital literacy programs. Media outlets covered their work, and Jordan and Maya were invited to speak at the United Nations General Assembly, where they advocated for greater investment in youth leadership. At the UN, Jordan met a young activist from Yemen named Noor, who was working to rebuild schools in her war-torn community. Her resilience inspired him, and he invited her to join Rise Global's advisory board. Noor's perspective added depth to their work, reminding Jordan of the importance of supporting activists in crisis zones. Back home, Jordan and Maya organized a national Rise Global Summit, bringing together hundreds of young activists for a weekend of workshops, performances, and networking. The event was held at their university, a symbolic nod to where their journey began. Aisha, now a college freshman, gave a keynote speech about her community garden, which had expanded to 3 neighborhoods. Kai debuted a new version of their app, now used by thousands of homeless youth. And Amara, joining virtually from Nigeria, announced a new Rise Global chapter in West Africa. As Jordan looked out at the crowd, he saw a reflection of his own journey, young people turning pain into purpose, fear into action. He took the stage for the closing remarks, his heart full. "We are not the leaders of tomorrow," he said. "We are the leaders of today. Together, we are rising, and we will not stop until justice is real for everyone." The crowd roared, and Jordan felt a sense of completion. The flight incident, once a source of shame, had become a catalyst for a global movement. He knew there was still work to do, systems to dismantle, hearts to change. But he also knew he was not alone. The National Rise Global Summit had left an indelible mark on Jordan Thompson's heart. As the last of the attendees departed the university campus, their voices still echoing with passion and purpose, Jordan stood alone in the auditorium, taking in the empty stage where he had just delivered the closing remarks. The banners reading, "Rise Global, empowering youth, changing the world," fluttered gently in the breeze from an open window. It was a moment of quiet reflection, a rare pause in the whirlwind of his life as an activist, student, and leader. Over the past year, Rise Global had grown beyond Jordan's wildest dreams. The platform now supported thousands of young activists across 30 countries, funding projects that ranged from clean water initiatives in rural communities to mental health programs for marginalized youth. The Geneva headquarters was under construction, and the organization had secured partnerships with major foundations and the United Nations. Jordan and Maya had become recognized voices in the global youth movement, their faces gracing magazine covers and their words inspiring millions. But as Jordan looked out at the empty auditorium, he wasn't thinking about the accolades or the scale of their work. He was thinking about the journey, the pain of that flight 3 years ago, the pride of his father's support, and the countless young people who had joined him in turning adversity into action. He was thinking about Aisha's community gardens, Kai's life-changing app, Amara's leadership in Nigeria, and Noor's courage in Yemen. This wasn't just his story anymore. It was theirs, woven together into a tapestry of hope and resilience. Maya's voice broke through his thoughts. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, stepping into the auditorium with a stack of leftover flyers in her arms. Her smile was warm, a reminder of the friendship that had carried them through every challenge. "Just taking it all in," Jordan replied, gesturing to the stage. "Can you believe how far we've come? It feels like yesterday we were just 2 college kids trying to organize a campus event." Maya laughed, setting the flyers down. "And now we're running a global organization. Life's wild like that." She paused, her expression softening. "You know, I was just talking to Aisha. She's planning to expand her garden project into a national network. She said you inspired her to dream bigger." Jordan shook his head, a humble smile tugging at his lips. "It's not just me, it's all of us. You, Aisha, Kai, everyone who's part of this. We're building something that's going to outlast us." Maya nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "That's the goal, right? To create a legacy that keeps going no matter where we are." Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Professor Elena Carter, who had become a mentor and advisor to Rise Global. "Jordan, Maya, I've got news," she said, her voice crackling with excitement over the speakerphone. The university is naming a scholarship after you two, the Thompson and Nguyen Social Justice Scholarship, for students committed to activism and equity. They want you to speak at the announcement ceremony next month. Jordan and Maya exchanged stunned glances. A scholarship? In our names? Jordan asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Absolutely, Professor Carter replied. Your work has transformed this campus and beyond. The scholarship will support students who want to follow in your footsteps. It's a way to ensure your impact lives on. As they hung up, Jordan felt a swell of emotion. A scholarship in their names was more than an honor. It was a testament to the change they had sparked. He thought about the young students who would benefit, the future leaders who would carry the torch of justice forward. It was a fitting capstone to their college years, which were drawing to a close. With graduation approaching, Jordan and Maya were making plans for the next chapter of their lives. Maya had been accepted into a prestigious graduate program in nonprofit management at a university in New York, where she planned to continue leading Rise Global's operations. Jordan, meanwhile, had been offered a fellowship with a global human rights organization focusing on youth policy and advocacy. The fellowship would allow him to travel, connect with activists worldwide, and bring those insights back to Rise Global. But before they moved on, there was one final project they wanted to complete: the release of their book, Rise, The Power of Youth in Changing the World. The book had been a labor of love, blending their personal stories with the voices of young activists they had met along the way. It was both a memoir and a blueprint for change, offering practical advice for aspiring organizers and a call to action for readers to join the fight for justice. The book's release was scheduled for the week after graduation, with a launch event planned at a historic bookstore in their college town. Jordan and Maya spent their final weeks as undergraduates putting the finishing touches on the manuscript, working late into the night to ensure every story was told with care. They included chapters on Aisha's gardens, Kai's app, Amara's leadership, Noor's resilience, and dozens of others, creating a mosaic of hope and action. As graduation day arrived, the campus buzzed with excitement. Jordan stood in his cap and gown, surrounded by his family and friends. His mother, now fully recovered from her health scare, beamed with pride, while Marcus adjusted Jordan's tassel with a fatherly grin. "You've made us so proud, son," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not just for what you've done, but for who you are." Jordan hugged his father tightly. "I couldn't have done it without you, Dad. You showed me what it means to stand up." The ceremony was a blur of speeches, cheers, and tears. When Jordan's name was called, the crowd erupted in applause, a testament to the impact he had made on campus. Maya received a similar ovation. And as they posed for photos together, their diplomas in hand, Jordan felt a sense of completion. They had come to this university as students and were leaving as changemakers. The following week was a celebration of everything they had built. The bookstore was packed with students, community members, and activists from across the region. Aisha, Kai, and Miguel were there, along with Professor Carter and several Rise Global staff members. Even Lena, the flight attendant who had spoken to Jordan at the airline conference, made the trip, eager to show her support. Jordan and Maya took the stage, their voices steady despite the weight of the moment. "This book isn't just our story," Jordan began, holding up a copy of Rise. "It's the story of every young person who has ever dared to dream of a better world. It's for the kids who feel unseen, the communities that feel forgotten, and the future we're building together." Maya picked up where he left off, her words resonating with the crowd. "We wrote this to inspire, but also to challenge. Change doesn't happen by wishing for it. It happens when we act. We hope. This book lights a fire in you, just like our journey lit a fire in us." They read excerpts from the book, sharing stories of resilience and resistance. The audience was captivated, laughing at moments of humor, tearing up at moments of struggle, and cheering at moments of triumph. When they opened the floor for questions, hands shot up, with attendees asking how they could start their own projects or support Rise Global's work. After the event, Jordan and Maya signed copies of the book, their hands cramping from the sheer number of fans and supporters. Aisha approached with a copy, her eyes shining. "I'm giving this to my little sister," she said. "I want her to know she can change the world, just like you showed me." Jordan smiled, writing a personal note in the book. Your sister's lucky to have you as a role model, Aisha. Keep rising. As the crowd thinned, Jordan noticed a familiar face in the back of the room. It was the flight attendant from that fateful flight, the one who had discriminated against him 3 years ago. She stood hesitantly, clutching a copy of the book. Jordan's heart skipped a beat, but he walked over, his expression calm. "Hi," she said softly, her voice trembling. I read about your book in the news and I wanted to come. I've been following your work and I'm so sorry for what I did back then. I've been trying to learn to be better. Your story, it's changed how I see things." Jordan took a deep breath, processing her words. Her apology years ago had been a step, but this felt different, more genuine. "Thank you for being here," he said. "It means a lot that you're listening and learning. That's what this is all about, growing and making things right." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and handed him her book to sign. Jordan wrote a simple message. "To new beginnings. Keep rising." As she walked away, he felt a sense of closure. The pain of that flight had faded, replaced by the power of what he had built in its wake. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of transition. Jordan moved to Washington, D.C. for his fellowship, immersing himself in the world of global policy. He worked on initiatives to support youth leadership, drawing on his experiences with Rise Global. Maya settled in New York, balancing her graduate studies with her role as Rise Global's co-director. They stayed in close touch, video calling weekly to share updates and dream about the future. Rise Global continued to thrive under their leadership, with new chapters launching in Asia, Europe, and Latin America. The platform's impact was measurable. Thousands of projects funded, millions of lives touched. But its true legacy was in the stories that couldn't be quantified. It was in the young girl who read Rise and started a book club to discuss social justice. It was in the community that rallied around a Rise Global-funded clinic. It was in the activist who found the courage to speak out because someone believed in them. One crisp fall day, a year after graduation, Jordan returned to his hometown for a special event. The airline, under Marcus's leadership, was unveiling a new community center in partnership with Rise Global. The center would provide free training, mentorship, and resources for local youth, with a focus on those from marginalized backgrounds. It was named the Jordan Thompson Youth Empowerment Hub, a tribute to the journey that had begun on one of their planes. As Jordan stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, surrounded by his family, Maya, and hundreds of community members, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. Marcus gave a speech, his voice filled with pride as he recounted Jordan's story and the airline's commitment to change. "This center is a promise," Marcus said, "to listen, to learn, and to lift up the next generation." When it was Jordan's turn to speak, he looked out at the crowd, his heart full. "This hub isn't just about me," he said. "It's about every young person who has a dream and needs someone to believe in them. It's about the power of community, the strength of resilience, and the beauty of rising together." He shared a story about a recent Rise Global project, a school in Yemen, rebuilt with Noor's leadership, where children were now learning in safety. He spoke of Aisha's Gardens, now a national model for food justice, and Kai's app, which had expanded to support homeless youth in multiple countries. And he spoke of his own journey, from a humiliated teenager to a global advocate. "As I stand here today, I'm reminded of a moment that changed my life," Jordan said, his voice steady. "A moment when I felt unseen, unworthy. But that moment didn't define me. What defined me was what came next, the choice to rise, to speak, to act. And that's what I hope this center and Rise Global will do for every young person who walks through its doors. To remind them that they are enough, that their voice matters, and that they can change the world." The crowd erupted in applause, and Jordan stepped down to cut the ribbon, his hand joined by Marcus, Maya, and a group of local youth. As the doors to the hub opened, children rushed inside, their laughter filling the space. Jordan watched them explore the classrooms, the art studio, the tech lab, all designed to spark their dreams. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, Jordan and Maya sat on a bench outside the hub, watching the sunset. The air was cool and the sky was painted in hues of orange and pink. "We did it," Maya said, her voice soft. "We built something real." Jordan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "And it's only the beginning. These kids, this hub, Rise Global, they're going to keep it going. We just lit the spark. They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of their journey settling around them. Jordan thought about the flight attendant's apology, his father's unwavering support, and the countless young people who had become his family. He thought about the pain that had started it all and the purpose it had birthed. As the stars began to appear, Jordan felt a sense of peace. He had turned a moment of humiliation into a movement that would echo for generations. He had risen, and in doing so, he had helped others rise too. The world was far from perfect, but it was changing, one voice, one project, one heart at a time. And with that, Jordan Thompson looked to the future, ready to keep rising, knowing that the legacy of justice, empowerment, and love would carry on. The end.